Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this opportunity. It's probably been far too long since Tintri briefed the press and the analysts, so thank you very much for this opportunity. Fred spotted the contact slide. I won't labour on that one. I think last week or the week before, she asked us to bring business cards, but we went digital a good couple of years ago, and I could only find 2 business cards, so I've put a slide at the beginning with our contact details, in case you want to take a picture of that, and one at the end. And of course, you can contact us any time. Ken's our marketing director. He's our EMEA marketing director, but he also runs messaging globally for Tintri, and does a great job of that. Phil has flown over from the US. Phil's our senior vice president of Tintri. And I literally only found out last night he's got some really exciting things to talk about today. So I'm not setting Phil up for a fall, but the timing is perfect for this. And I run sales in EMEA for Tintri. So this was my original agenda slide. I changed it yesterday because we've got a bit of multimedia with Phil's flip chart. I don't want to steal any of your thunder, Phil, but I literally found out last night that Phil is going to announce today some new features, really exciting enhancements to the VM Store product range that we were planning to launch next week, and I was literally finding out about them last night. So I'm as excited as I hope some of you in the room are. So yeah, it's a long time since we've done this, too long, and A3 are doing a fantastic job for us getting us in front of the important people in the industry. Fred talked about Tintri and the fact we're now owned by DDN. I joined Tintri in 2015. It has been a fabulous journey, with lots of twists and turns. I'm happy to go into some of the detail individually afterwards if anyone wants to, but I didn't want to labour too much on historical events because we have a lot of important forward-looking information to cover. So Tintri was founded in 2008, long time ago. Long time ago. I'll stop calling us the oldest startup in the world because we're not a startup anymore.
You said when you entered to Tintri, it was in
2015.
15.
Yes. Yeah. Then in 2011, so Dr. Kieran Harty started the company in 2008, started selling the VM Store in 2011, and then a few twists and turns, and DDN acquired the assets of Tintri in July 2018. So we're a wholly owned subsidiary of DDN now, DDN being the largest privately owned storage company in the world. I believe we're still very, very relevant to our customers. I ran a report, because I wanted to give you the latest data, I ran a report just last night from Salesforce in EMEA to put sort of the scale into context. Certainly not as big as some of the people you talk to. We have 279 individual discrete customers in EMEA, and across those customers we have 776 VM stores still doing their thing in the field and hopefully adding value to our customers' businesses every day. A customer said to me fairly recently, he said, "I love you guys because you stick to your knitting. We do what we do very well, which is building and supplying and maintaining data management platforms for virtualized environments. That's our niche. We're proud to have a niche, and we're not all things to all men and women." A lot hasn't changed in all that time. I find it quite remarkable that I think the smart people that designed the product and the file system and the operating system back then did something. They must have done something really well, because it's given us a platform to build a lot of enhancements on, which we'll come on to. If you know, you know. I asked before I came here. I asked a few customers, could I quote you? And one guy said, "Well, if you know, you know. If you know how good it is, you run it in your We've got people who are still running the first VM stores, even though they're not supported. They're running them in test and dev because they keep working and doing what they're supposed to do. And we call those customers diehards, Tintri diehards. We even had one customer from Sweden last week wrote a Tintri song. I promise you, I will not inflict that on you. But he sent it to Phil and I, and it was hilarious, wasn't it? But we have a lot of customers who who love the platform and the company and the company. And a lot of customers say, actually, we forgot we had it. It just does its thing. It does its thing in the corner, and we don't have to touch it. That's a good and a bad thing. Sometimes it's a double-edged sword for us because we're not front of mind, and we have to remind them that we are still here, which is part of why we're here today in front of you important industry people. I'm going to cover a bit about our EMEA go-to-market. I didn't think that was quite I didn't want to spend lots of time on that, but I'll whiz through where we've got a presence, how we address the market, and then in bold there, some really, really exciting things on the future of the company and the product. We've never really, I don't think we've hyped ourselves up enough, if I'm being truthful. We don't talk too much hype. I've called that statement "Finding Actual Value in AI," our promise, because that's what Ken put on it as the strapline for this event for Tintri. And that's what we talk to our customers about: real, actual value, not all the sort of ethereal promises that AI might bring. Customer said, I'm aging myself now. For those of you that have been in storage, I'm an old storage lag. I'm probably a lot older than a lot of people in this room. I remember a customer probably 30 years ago, 25 at least, saying to me, Mark, we get DASD with the milk. And I didn't know what he meant. So I went to my boss. I said, what does he mean? He said, everybody sells disk, Mark. Disk is disk. But it's all the added features that this was when I worked for Memorex many, many moons ago. And he said, it's all the added value that customers need, not just the spinning disk in those days, the DASD, direct access storage device. I still remember it. And that's what we're all about. There are so many fantastic storage companies in the market that really, really good products, and some of them in their own niche are unbeatable. Really, really. So we wouldn't dream of knocking the competition, but it's everything else we do. We have a very, very robust and performant NVMe-based platform, but it's the secret sauce that the platform runs that our customers fall in love with. And as I said, we're proudly niche. We talk about, I said we don't do hype, but we talk about self-driving data management. I'll come on to that. Autonomous operations, which I'm sure is a familiar term. AI is such a hyped up subject right now. I've seen lots of companies who they'll change their web suffix to .ai and they'll put AI in the name of all their products, and they're not really doing anything different. I truly believe, and it's a bold statement in front of a room full of intelligent people, I think we have really been leveraging the power of AI since 2011, since we started selling the VM Store, because the VM Store learns the customer's environment and provides value. AI is a really exciting subject, and AI will undoubtedly, it will cure illnesses, it will provide all sorts of incredible life-changing benefits. Our AI, it's not life-changing for many people, unless you're in IT operations. If you're a storage manager and you can plug a storage appliance in and never have to touch it again, then actually that's quite, maybe not life-changing, but it changes your day-to-day work challenges.
Sort of do that with Herbal Service.
Yeah. In niches, there are lots of products that make IT people's lives easier, and the pen cup on the right, we talk a lot about simplicity, and that was an analogy. When I went on New Hire back in 2015, Dr. Kieran Harty, that founded the company, he stood up with a pot of pens like that, and I'm a biochemist. That's a secret I've let out. I was never an IT person. I was a biochemist. Used a lot of technology in the lab. I worked in leukemia research after I graduated, but I loved the computer side, but really got into that and moved into IT. But I'm nowhere near as technical probably as almost everybody in the room. I love what the products do for our customers. And we describe still to this day to customers how the tub is a LUN. We don't do LUNs. So with traditional storage, if you want to replicate some data, you usually have to replicate the LUN or snapshot the LUN. We work at the virtual machine level. Each pen is a virtual machine. So we would stand in front of the customer and say, if you want to replicate this pen, just this one virtual machine that runs a particular application, you just 2 clicks and you replicate that one, not the whole LUN. So that it's just an example of how it's fairly easy to articulate what VMstore does to our customers. But the new positioning, and it really, I went in and changed my slides this morning because of, I realized what Phil was going to pitch. We haven't been sat on our hands, and I knew that we have launched a software-only cloud version of the VMstore very recently called Tintri Cloud Engine. In South Africa and the US, we've launched Tintri Cloud Platform. So we're giving our customers real options to run this functionality in the public cloud, but there's much more. There's much more to come. Talked about simplicity. We believe we're unique. I can't believe we're still unique after all these years, but I do believe we are. And our product does learn the customer's operations. It learns the performance and resource requirements of each application totally hands off, and allows customers to concentrate on extracting value from the data rather than all the housekeeping that goes with it. So why does it make a difference to our customers on a day-to-day basis? We often talk about the VMstore as a management tool that comes with storage. Phil doesn't like me using the word storage. So, but the appliance does have NVMe disks in it, so it does store data. And it is a management tool that comes with storage. I used to say to prospects and customers, it's a management tool that comes with free storage, and the clever ones would always jump on me and say, right, I'll have some of the free storage without the management tool. So I'm careful how I say that now. But in terms of real time savings, I'm not suggesting that storage managers can just go and sit on a deck chair on the beach because the appliance runs the environment itself, but it releases an incredible amount of time back to the IT professionals to do other revenue generating and innovative activities. So we save time on the planning, the installation. We still do a thing with our new customers. We just won Phil doesn't even know this yet, but an hour ago we just won another new customer. We're in about 5 new logos per quarter. And we need to win more, but we're winning about 5 a quarter. We've just won the city of Gothenburg about an hour ago, brand new customer. And we have like all the vendors really, we have an ROI tool, and we walk through it with our customers, our prospects, and we try to give them a really sensible, real-world illustration of the savings that might be realized by implementing VMstore. And we use the customer's data. Everyone does that. It's not unique, but the average across all of the ROI studies that we do is that it's a bold statement, I know, but we see 89% cost savings in storage administration and a 5-year reduced TCO of 35%. We do away with finger pointing. Sorry. Yeah.
Do you only get that if you've got a suitably mature customer? But I can't imagine that you, all this stuff have freed up the storage manager to do more productive things.
Yeah.
I've met companies in which they would not encourage the storage manager to do more productive things. You employ the storage manager if you're not doing that.
Yes.
So you have to be a certain maturity of customer, I thought, get all this stuff.
I think, sorry?
I want to add something.
It's a good point. It doesn't, that's the average that we see.
So you may just pick stop that, but you may pick your customers and choose the ones that are actually capable of exploiting what you give them.
Yes, in terms of targeting prospects, that would be smart. Not all, we make assumptions sometimes as a vendor, and we'll say to prospects, your storage manager could do all these other wonderful things, and they'll say, well, actually, we don't have a storage manager. We don't have that luxury. We don't have the budget, and we don't have a big enough team. So we have one person maybe spending 10% of the time on storage. the ROI there is smaller. It is small, but so it does depend on the customer, yeah.
And let me tell a real quick anecdote with that. A few years back, it's in a U.S.-based telecom. I don't want to use the name, but one of the largest. Probably have couple hundred storage admins. It's very rarely you have one that's just all he does is he or she does LUNs. They have other tasks. So what was happening over the time frame of this engagement with this customer who purchased, I don't know, 6 years ago, was trying just to free up some of those cycles and reduce some of these things. Did not believe we could do it. Gave it a shot, bought us, yada, yada. A year and a half later, I got invited to their Christmas party. A guy comes up and says, thanks, thank you. And he's a hard guy to work. The hardest businessman I've dealt with in my career. No thank yous. Comes up, says, thanks. No, thank you, for being a customer. No, really, thanks. Thank you. Thanks, you don't understand. My whole team gets to go home and enjoy the holidays with their family. And it's like those kinds of things that, right? But it's true. The other business driver behind that was they didn't have a task of managing a set of LUNs. They had lots of other projects that were tied to it that were accelerated within this business, dramatically accelerated because they didn't have to screw around with balancing LUNs and all these mundane storage tasks. So that's where it matters. Doesn't eliminate all of them, but it eliminates a vast majority to the point where I've had that conversation more times than not with people who had deployed it.
That's a US. I may have a quote from that customer coming up, but it may be a different customer. I'm not sure because I'm not sure who Phil's talking about. But so yeah, some of the things we do and take for granted, and our customers take for granted, hence they say we forgot we had the VM store. Finger pointing meetings. It's the help desk phones are ringing off the hook, and storage blame network, and network blame server, and in fact everyone blames storage, I think usually, and just by a couple of clicks in our GUI, we can see where the latency is. Is it in the storage? Is it in the server? Is it in the network? That's one of the reasons we talk about a management tool. And no noisy neighbors. The auto quas we're talking about there, all of these things are straight out of the box. They're not additional features. The predictive analytics is something that we probably haven't been, confession time for me, haven't been good enough as a sales force at explaining to our existing customers the power of what they have there. So we have a SaaS service. Of course, these boxes are sending data back to the ranch constantly, analytical data. And we use 3 years worth of back data, and we can give our customers, this is also out of the box, it's not an additional cost, predictions of up to 18 months in the future. So when will they run out of compute? So this is for compute and storage. This is a storage appliance, but this is the level of information we give the customers. So they know if they roll out a new application, will they need new servers? Will they need additional storage? Very, very powerful. And we really shouldn't keep these things as big a secret as we have been doing. Although I wouldn't ever claim that we are an out-of-the-box ransomware protection product or company, because that's not what we do. Because of the powerful real-time analytics, we can detect anomalies very quickly. And we have a service there where we can suggest to a customer that the increase in activity we are seeing on their storage appliance could be indicative of a ransomware attack. And then we can make recommendations that the customer can choose to action or not, or some customers say, take the action for us and roll us back to the time just before the ransomware attack. So as I say, it's not something we lead with, but a lot of these things our customers have grown accustomed to, and they forget they have. On the very simple, I'm sure you've seen this many, many times, but in terms of the storage manager, you're absolutely right to point out that not everyone has a storage team and not everyone realizes the same return on investment. But the reality is infrastructures are growing in complexity and size and cost. Budgets are pretty flat. I've been doing a lot of self-learning on AI, and I know that some huge AI projects in some huge companies do command big budgets. But generally speaking, to run an IT operation, the budgets are flat, and actually, headcounts are fairly flat, and finding people with these really deep storage skills is quite difficult. So even if customers had the budget, they may not be able to find the individuals. So rule-based automation, yeah, well established, quite old. You know, as I said, it's a fairly old slide, but it still applies. That helps a little bit. But using intelligent infrastructure and AI ops really helps. You know, this gap is where the VM store really helps. That's why we say to our customers, you don't need a storage manager. And we talk about self-driving data management. And I just wanted to explain, I'm quite passionate about this because it's simple, and I find it simple to explain. Please don't hate me, but I drive a Tesla. And I've been driving an electric car now for 4.5 years. Some people hate me for that. Some people don't care. But I like it because, you know, it's easy to drive. It's smooth. It's fairly cheap to run. But the truth is, it doesn't have all the nerd knobs that old-fashioned storage has and that this beautiful classic car has. So there's not a lot of things to mess about with whilst you're driving. It has autopilot, my car. But believe me, you cannot let that car drive itself. I never use it. It's really, really crude. And for me, until self-driving cars really until they become a reality, they're not of no benefit at all. They're just a gimmick. Because I'd love, if I have an hour's commute to work in the morning, I would love to be able to sit in the back of the car and do a bit of work, maybe catch up on some sleep, do some emails. That's giving me some productive time back into my day. But actually, having an electric vehicle with autopilot, which means I still have to drive the car myself because it doesn't really work, is pointless. It's just a gimmick. So
comes feel when the insurance company will accept you using autopilot, doing your work, and still pay out on the claim.
Yes, yeah, that's right. It's nowhere near, is it? It's nowhere near. But our self-driving capability really is there. You know, we talk through a scenario with new prospects where we make this promise, and it really is true. So customers will, the VM store arrives, they plug it in, give it an IP address, and then they leave it. They just leave it to do its thing. And we do a thing. It's a little bit salesy. I said we don't do hype. It's called the Pizza Challenge. So it was a customer that started doing this, and now we suggest it to most of our new customers who, when they get a VM store, order a pizza, unbox the VM store, then order a pizza, and by the time the pizza arrives, the storage will be serving I/O to your server environment and doing its job, and you'll never have to touch it again if you don't want to. So to me, that's what self-driving means. If something's self-driving, it's of no real benefit unless it gives you that time back.
You have to explain that sooner or later people take it for granted, and you have to explain why it's efficient and why you could be more efficient using something different.
Yes.
When you first get it, it's great, it's more efficient.
Yes.
But then people think, could it be better? How do I tell?
Yeah. We've started doing some pieces of work with customers when we talk about the real-time analytics, so the auto quaz and all the features that how many other products would they need to buy and run to try and beef up this TCO a little bit, because I'm always conscious we don't want to be just talking hype, and that's why our huge install base for a company of our size is they're our best salespeople, really. We use lots and lots of case studies and reference calls.
To add one thing to that, because I don't know if this is publicized, and it actually reinforces exactly what you said. Almost all of our sales, probably in EMEA, probably 90+% are done via a conditional sale, which is a no condition conditional sale. Because selling these concepts to people, unless somebody is of a level of understanding a little deeper of how these things work, is near impossible, because you're making a lot of claims. So we'll give somebody 30 days. If it's the project and it works, you bought it. If it doesn't, you send it back. So there's no gotchas, and it's just, you don't like the color of it, send it back. But until they see it, they don't believe it.
It's sort of sharing risk as well, isn't it?
Yes,
That,
yes.
if it doesn't work,
Yep.
there's a risk to you as well as risk to customer.
Yeah, we take a financial risk shipping receipt, just the time sent into it, and trying to remember, we've about nine, I think there have been a couple where there were issues, but 98, 99% of them came proceeded. I can't think of one right now that didn't. And the ones that didn't generally were outside of our use case. Like if somebody's trying to put Oracle, it works, but if you're going to do it via a performance big iron system, probably not a fit for just that workload. So we'll get into that.
And it's really true that we do say to the prospects, there's no really detailed statements of work. If it does this, you must buy it. We really do say to them, use it. And if you don't like it after 30 days, you can send it back, and they usually keep it. I haven't shared many customer names. I've got some, I've got a few quotes from customers. I've got a full customer list, of course, I carry that with me. I've got numbers, but I didn't particularly think that would be of great interest, that level of detail to this audience. So, but I wanted really to say to you, we're still here. We sometimes we're here in different markets, oh, didn't know you guys were still around. So that's bad on us. That's a conflict. We should not, no one should be thinking that. We're very active on social media. I think we punch above our weight on LinkedIn and things like that. We don't do enough of this. So I hope that changes from today. We have direct, well, we only sell through partners. So we sell, our model is an indirect model exclusively, but we have feet sort of on the street, if you will, in the UK, DACH, and South Africa and the Middle East. So I have in EMEA, Tintri employed salespeople and pre-sales people in those countries in green. In the Nordics, Benelux, Spain and Portugal, we work mainly through large partners. In the Nordics, we signed up Telenor, whose sales force are all trained on how to identify and sell a Tintri solution. But we do have a person from the UK who devotes half of his time to that region. We are beefing up our presence there, and we have approved headcount for a salesperson and a pre-salesperson in the Nordics. France and Italy, we haven't really concentrated on. I would dearly love to, because our two owners, Alex Buzari and Paul Bloch, are both French, and I think DDN are strong in France, and we have a support office in France. We really should do better there. So that's one I'm now working. I'm working very closely with my DDN colleagues on how we break into those markets. We cover all verticals. We're a horizontal solution. But we've done particularly well in verticals, almost by accident, really, in verticals where they see the real pressure of budget restraints, and that's in the public sector, health and education. We've done incredibly well in very large health providers across Europe, particularly in the UK, but also Sweden. And they need as much bang for their buck, to coin an awful marketing phrase, that they can get. And education, we have a lot of universities, and particularly in DACH, and I think that's partly because we have a very, very good partner in DACH who understands the education market and understands what we do for them.
Can you share the name?
Yeah, we've got University of Paderborn. What else have we got? My varifocals, my wife stood on them, so I bought these £1.99 readers. Apologies. Weimar University, University of Paderborn. I'm happy to. I carry on my laptop
It's nice to have names of local partners and customers.
Oh, sorry, the partner concern is Mighty Care. Yeah. Apologies, Fred, I didn't.
Okay.
It seems a bit of a mixed batch, to be honest. I mean, amongst other things, I write for a pan-European channel site, like Europa.
Yeah.
And I'm quite surprised. I mean, France, Italy are major markets. You don't seem to be trying that hard at them. Nordics, Benelux and Spain, you have partners and you still have someone selling direct. And then you sell direct in the two biggest markets, UK and Ireland and DAC.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a dog's dinner if you were explaining your channel story to me. You don't seem to have one.
I clearly haven't explained it very well. We don't sell direct. We have a physical presence in those countries. So we have a salesperson, at least one salesperson, one pre-sales, and a channel manager. We never sell direct. So honestly,
Are you a channel first company?
we're a channel only company. So I'm so glad you raised it, because if I had misexplained that, it would have been a real faux pas. Really, really big on this, because so we have a really, we're just right now in the middle of we're just starting a whole new partner recruitment campaign. We've put together what we call a campaign in a box service for our new partners, which gives them all the call out scripts and white papers. We're doing a lot of what so we only sell through partners. I'm glad that didn't go. I'm really glad that didn't go misunderstood. And yeah, in the green and blue countries, we have some physical presence, but they work exclusively with partners. Yeah. And yeah, France and Italy, big markets. We just haven't had the scale really so we've had to concentrate where we've got some momentum already built up, but we've got our eye particularly on France, because we have DDN have a lot of people in France. And
how many partners are you looking for approximately in the EMEA region?
It depends on the DAC is a particular. We've actually just got an approved head for a partner manager in DAC, because it's such an important region for us. In numbers, we haven't really set any targets in terms of numbers of partners. It's really, we're looking for partners who see the unique value in the product. We don't want to be just another storage product on a long list of storage products, that some of the larger resellers. So we're looking for niche partners that can get us into the markets that in which they're strong.
I'm a bit surprised that AI development, I know AI is hyped, but a lot of people are building AI applications.
Yeah.
And I'd have thought there might be a very different workload on the servers.
We're going to get into that deeply.
So our parent company, DDN, is very strong in AI. It hasn't been a particularly strong market for us, but I now know we have some incredible announcements coming down the line with VM Store.
One question on workloads.
Of course.
I'm missing containers because in the application space.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll go with you. That's part of what.
It's a really
Because I
perfect timing.
on this sheet.
Yeah.
Perfect timing. So we attended KubeCon in Amsterdam last year, and I've got to say, I really struggled with the conversations at that time, because it's a different market altogether. But I believed what Phil and our CTO were telling us, that that's a market that we believe we're heading into that market, and we're there.
I haven't seen you in Paris at all.
No, we missed it this year.
We missed Paris because this is part of what we're going to go into. That
Yeah.
space is still kind of
You should have been
gelling.
there because
I know, we
what I
should.
heard is that it doubled over the last.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
really?
heard the
big.
same.
Yeah.
We didn't. Nobody
big.
saw that
Really
coming.
good, yeah.
It was big the year before. As
And
well.
it's like doubling every year. The one in Vegas, the one in the States went from, I don't remember exactly, but probably less than 1,000 3 years ago to, it's bigger than VMworld now. It's 15, 20,000 people in 2 years.
Huge, and it feels like VMware, VMware Explore, whatever it is now, is really
Shrinking.
losing momentum. There's much less
Yeah.
focus or interest into virtualization, which is pretty much commoditized, whereas transformation towards cloud native and all these having much more interest, whether it is driven just by transformation or by AI or whatever related stuff. So
Yeah.
I jump pretty deep into that one, so because I'm interesting perspectives.
And we've always been very, very focused on the VMware market, of course. And we see that as a risk because of recent events, the acquisition of VMware. I can only say, thank goodness that the people above me already had plans in development there. But yes, so our traditional workloads, virtual server, SQL, we're very strong in. VDI, we've got lots and lots of customers who use VDI. And DevOps is our number one, consistently our number one inbound inquiry. Mentor Graphics, global customer, I don't know, 188 appliances, quite remarkable. And that is a DevOps type environment, that's software development. So all the waterfall testing and the functionality of the VM store really lends itself to that. They've been a customer, a reference customer for a long time. This one here, smaller, the Pensions Trust in the UK. Brand new customer, actually brand new application for that customer. So they first bought us for VDI many years ago, and they've just bought 2 brand new NVMe VM stores for their software development. And there's a quote from the customer. We've just published that case study, so I know I'm on safe ground talking about that one.
Just your marketing, if you got more money in your law, if you know your marketing.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll understand, because when I get going to have an ask of this team here, that some bigger things that need to change with the way we're all going to the market. But I'll shut up.
I'm almost done, and then Phil can get into the real exciting new stuff. But was that the quote, Phil, at the bottom?
Yeah.
So I met this customer in the States. I met him at VM World a few years ago, and you're right, larger than life character. He came bounding up to me because I was the Brit, and hey, you English, you British? I said, yeah, and he said, I've got VM stores. I don't know how many he had, and he said it's the best employee I've ever had, and he never asked for a raise. So it's a great way of saying that the appliance does its thing, it manages the storage, it's a data management platform, and it just does its job and doesn't need much feeding and watering. That, we can move on to the exciting stuff now, if that's...
Sure.
We're going to be around. You can
I took some kind of talk point. We can keep this as interactive as you guys want. I took a couple things I do want to loop back on, such as partners, because if that was missed, that's really... We are 100% channel. There's no direct deals outside of 1 or 2 customers in the States where we had no option. So everything's through channel. We're very dependent on them. We are seeing kind of a shift in the channel focus, though, where you're seeing some of the old providers, the bigger ones, are going more commodity based, and then we're focusing more on the specialized ones who understand what I'm going to talk about and where we think that this whole market's going. So that's clear with the channel 100%. We're not a direct company at all.
I'm glad we caught that one, because we're big on that.
Yeah. So, hi everybody, Phil Trikovic. I'm the SVP of Tintri. I've been with Tintri since 2014. I run the division, its direction, and everything associated with it, so I can answer any questions that you would like to have answered.
Sorry, what division?
Tintri, like we're a subsidiary of DDN, so I'm just the boss of the
division. Okay.
Subsidiary. We can click over to the next one. Because I was going to jump right into this, because we were talking about hypervisors. To frame where we're going, and then I'll get into the why, this is what our new stack is looking like. So we're going to fully support application and containers. We already support Zen. We already support Hyper-V. Proxmox we're adding. VMware we obviously do. XCP, and then Red Hat OpenShift, and then any others that may come along. And that's because of the nature of our architecture. I want to talk real briefly in this room. Anybody here have mainframe experience? Okay, beautiful. One. Anybody, any kind of VAX or any of the post Deck Alpha, any of the Unix systems? People, anybody? Okay. So go to the next one. I wanted to do this in 5 minutes or less, because this could go on for days, if possible. And I think us as an industry need to start looking at the way we do the back-end computing. It's not really about storage, it's about efficient delivery without requiring a nuclear power plant the size of Texas to develop everything everyone's talking about right now. All the things in the market right now, we couldn't process them if we could deliver them tomorrow. We couldn't process them in 5 years, partially because of the history of compute and where we've missed things, and where Tintri serendipitously, Mark Gritter and Kieran Hardy, the 2 founders, when they designed this system at the time, designed it to optimize files. And if you remember that, to optimize, manage, and action upon files based on an intelligent set of criteria. which is the historic workloads of those files, right? We gather stats. That's is what makes Tintri special. It's not that we have disk. I could care less about the hardware. We've got the fastest, I can say all those things. Everyone's using the same stuff. When you upstack it from that, the intelligence that's built into the base OS and Tintri's operating system, in conjunction with all the file statistics we can take, allow us to auto-tune those files real time based on what the customer's doing, not based on what Phil or Mark say or Gardner says.
Any technical white papers on talking about that in detail?
Yeah, they're patents. We've got 14 patents on this type of technology.
Patents readable?
They're readable, absolutely readable. No, I mean, I think one of them's like 340 pages, but they're there. They're patented. The methodologies are patented, and the way forward, the way to deploy them, methodologies are patented. All right, I'm going to try to keep this super high level. Most people will understand, or will not probably get this first part. But back, I believe it was in the 40s and the 50s and up into the 60s, you used to have to develop a job, and you'd have to write it out in assembler, right? This is supposed to be my mainframe here. These are work gears. I'm not an artist. Then somebody would have to come and load those in. This is just the instructions for the instruction set you want to run. Spool the tape, do whatever they're doing, load that in, come back out and go, okay, now I need to load this assembler. Now I got to go back and load this compiler, and then I got to do a check. Then I got to have somebody run my JCL, which is how do we want to run the job, to get an output, right? That was how like one single process first started working when back in the day, right? Do you remember the JCL card? You just put, all this fun stuff. To get one output of an analysis of a financial sheet or whatever you would input into it. So we scroll forward into the 80s and 90s, and Multics comes up, and we start we are able to schedule this physical task and do a bunch of series of work that's done here, it's done here, register checks. That's where interrupt comes in. So now our CPUs are sitting there. Okay, this guy is waiting for something to happen from this guy's waiting for one of these registry or stack indicators to change, that something happened, and now we need to do more work. So remember, we're in the 90s back now, right? Internet's starting to come up. We've gone through the 80s, Windows, this all came from Unix system, Multics that came from whatever, 1960. You get where I'm going. I could go on with this forever back to where these originated from. Point is, late 90s, we hit this, you'd go through these processes are running, and there'd be hundreds and thousands of them running on a single server to get to your website or make a change, what have you. So the entry. So not much changed, except we made things smaller. The processes are still the same. They're just small.
A lot of multi-CPU, parallel CPU processing in those days.
Right.
Which you can't do, well, you couldn't do in the...
It's still kind of a fallacy that, you know what I mean? It's still serialized coming out of it, right? So at the end of the day, they just keep to get smaller and smaller, but we've hit the wall of what you can do with this. Now here we are today. We've got millions of these processes running, and this just keeps on going and keeps on going. So how do we change that? We have to build intelligence into these platforms, and we have to evolve the platforms to actually auto-tune, auto-do these things without waiting on all these processes on the back end to happen. Somebody here said AI, big AI, but the applications are coming out.
Yeah, me.
You, okay, wasn't you? We're starting now to see like the basic LLM type files. We can go to the next slide now, I'm done with So low-level computing, some of that history lesson hasn't changed much in 50, 60 years. It's still the same underlying processes and file systems and block operations. Those are very restricting. So these logical or large learning models, when they're spit out, like our parent company, huge, DDN does all of the stuff with NVIDIA for training Tesla and SpaceX and whatnot. Multi tens of millions of dollars of deal. It doesn't spit out an application that a company can run. So the practicality of it's not there. The practicality, when they're trained and deployed, they're just gigantic files. Does everybody understand that underneath of it, that once they're trained and deployed? Okay. All right, switch to the next one. So I for one, say globally we have platform entropy, and this is what I'm seeing around talking with CEOs, CTOs, CIOs. We're looking at doing this AI business process, how do we deploy it? Well, we're just going to put it on what we've always had and see what happens. So that goes into land of very expensive and fail. All right, go to the next one. And we remember all the, go back one. And we're still seeing all of these things. Without this, it's very wasteful, very inefficient. We've thrown, I think, what's a massive compute potential on our planet at a whole bunch of really, really bad, quickly written code that hasn't been optimized, and lack of intelligence within these working sets. All right, next one. So cost to deliver and to deliver these LLM and these applications is massive right now, done in legacy methodologies and with Frankensteining different components together. IP rights, one thing that's preventing this from running publicly, I don't know, I think it's somewhat of a big issue here in EMEA, but it's huge in the States, is IP rights. That's GDPR here, correct? So people are having lawsuits flying left and right now from training their model against somebody's website that nobody cleared them doing it with. Or, you know, you automate your business, you've got your IP secret sauce in your head and on your spreadsheets. You want to turn that into a LLM model for your employees to use. Where are you going to host that? That's your business secrets that are built into that intelligence. So these things are still being defined. Issue again on the platform side without intelligence behind to see what's happening. So,
talking about models that have actually been out there to
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. Like there's been instances where, like universities, I don't remember the name, have actually used models, altered it, and just put it back out there for other people to download to develop it further.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. Now businesses are finding their secrets have been either, you know, put in there or they've put them out into whatever public cloud as a language model, and people are now querying that to train their models. So businesses are kind of cross-training each other's secrets.
Yeah.
It's a really, really big problem.
The whole idea of community using the AI. I mean, there's a company that trains the model to interpret lawyer speech to make it more accessible for their customers. For that one example that comes to mind.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I think it's a good thing.
Oh, it's a great thing if we can figure out how to make sure everyone's not stealing each other's.
Yeah. But
That's
the
problem.
model itself.
Oh, it's fantastic.
If it's out there, the LLM, then anyone can use it.
Yeah.
To train for a specific task.
Yep. Yep.
How would you like all your articles being used that way, though? Not
They
being paid
are.
for them?
They are, funnily enough.
Well, the New York Times is getting paid for that sort of stuff. You should be getting paid.
Yeah.
That's
You
exactly.
should be getting a share of it. We
We'll
should
talk
all get
later.
a share of it.
If somebody's if somebody, and I don't know how publishing works, but if someone's referencing your works or using pieces of your works, you're not either notified or compensated for it. And it's becoming an issue. So it's just part of the story where we can lock things up and make some of that go away. We can't eliminate the public facing things.
As a lawyer to make a fortune out of it. So
Oh man.
who cares about technology? If a lawyer can spend 6 months or so working for IBM trying to resolve his IP issues, that lawyer's going to do that.
Yeah. No, they will, and that's what's going to unfortunately happen unless we collectively start doing this better. And part of it's getting
But
the
laws
cost out.
need to change to actually catch up with reality.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next one. The files, like I've worked with a company in the States right now called Momentum. It's a PhD at a professor that's doing a very interesting AI tool to scan all business processes and deploy them into a model he can then go sell as a reference library. Anyway, it spits out this massive file, and it's with 0 customers or 0 real data in it. The trained model is like 7 gigs. And that's just the processes definition before they've actually done everything, right? So we're going to need ways to manage these massive files that don't require clock cycle charges, ingress, egress charges, you know, all the things that we're seeing with public cloud. So go ahead, click to the next one. They're also updated irregularly. So they could be monthly, yearly, could be a one-time process that you trained that never has to changes, or they could update in a time slice method. It just depends. But at the end of the day, you're still updating a file and republishing that file. And that gets wicked expensive if you're trying to run LLM in a large cloud that's not designed for that. So we feel sentience is actually awareness and ability to action upon in platforms, and not even just us even upstack into the compute. Any analog compute devices that are coming out that are becoming part of these trainings that are interesting. I don't know if anyone here has looked into any of those yet. Waveform computing, Okay. Different things, sensor-based. We're getting a lot of interest in this across like oil and gas, safety monitoring, component counting, environmental monitoring with analog compute devices that are being fed into these machines that are generating probability and statistical things for insurance and so on and so forth. They require edge devices that have intelligence built on when to turn on and turn off and not be sitting in wait states constantly.
I guess that's a parallel process. You need parallel processes to make this go fast enough. I guess if anything serializes, that kills the whole thing.
Bingo, you got it. So that's the direction that we're going. Okay, next. What we are striving to be is, and I personally and the company believes this, that the need to manage all of these things will eventually go away, and we're going to have a global control plane for our business and consumer users. We are working towards a world that having to own a laptop or having to own a device should be a decision, not a requirement. Should be able to log into your environment everywhere, and this includes most business operations. That's a vision. We're not there yet, but that's what we're working towards. Go ahead. Next slide. I don't know, you may have seen this slide before. This came out last year ago. It's been updated. So TCE is one of the bigger announcements. Did anybody do the briefing a year ago when we announced that as a product? No? Okay. So we announced TCE, a bunch of products last year. So Tintri Container Engine, or Tintri Cloud Engine now we're calling it, was us virtualizing our operating environment. So TXOS, all the analytics that go with it. Basically, the entire operating system now has been put into a Docker image, so we can deploy on any instruction set compatible x86 hardware. So we've decoupled from our platform onto basically any other device that we could support instruction set wise. With that, we can now start serving and working with AWS. We're working with AWS, Azure, a number of regionals to provide this service. It could be an on-prem, off-prem, which is what this is targeted towards. A lot of our, like Mark brought up CI/CD customers. So some of our larger ones that are doing a ton of development. One, for example, is doing, I think, 20,000 snapshots per day. They can't take that off-prem. It has to stay on site, but then they publish up to their cloud deployment. So working towards that as a vision. Next.
If you try to take that into the Microsoft world, would you hit problems with licensing? Because my perception is that Microsoft's attitude to cloud is that they're multi-cloud, but you may find that your Azure licenses cost a lot more if you move your stuff out of Azure onto AWS, things like that. So it seems if you're trying to support multi-cloud in the Azure world, which is quite big, you have to worry about how much Microsoft is helping you to get the licensing right.
Yep, and that's, yes, very much so. And it's been seen that rear its head before with licensing and coming back at people, but that's not real. That's up to our customers. We just provide the space. You know, our goal here is to be hypervisor and workload agnostic. You know, where do you want to put it, and then we make it work. Like that's the goal of us.
So it does affect your customers. It's much harder to make it in some environments.
Yes, a lot of these things I'm saying, ladies and gents, I'm way oversimplifying. It's a good point, but this is the strategy and the direction we're going. But yes, there's all kinds. Like, and then you've got people with the Hyper-V deprecation. We had a lot of customers that moved off VMware before this whole Broadcom thing happened, and they went to Hyper-V. Well, Hyper-V's deprecated their VDIs. Like some of my very large customers were using that. So yes, there's tons of complexities in this. But our goal is to help eliminate those complexities. But we don't care. Here's your space. What do you need to serve? Which base OS and what image do you need to serve, and from where? Yeah. Amazon, Microsoft, our cloud. That doesn't matter to me at that point. That's our goal, and we're getting there. And it's all automatically QoS, which is something I think really overlooked with Tintri often. It's overlooked within the industry, whether you're with us or not. The more intelligence you can build into these automatic quality of service devices, the better it's going to be for all of us. And it will not work if we keep having an IRQ-based world. And then go ahead, next one. So these numbers are gathered from a number of sources, a number of analysts that we've hired, as well as our customer base. Traditional architectures, this would be a cost to do X. This is just on any given workload. If you're going to traditional architecture with automation features, whether it's Splunk, whatever processes they're using to monitor and automate, you can absolutely get this down versus just throw and deploy. But if you go with us, we're way down here. We can take about 90% of the cost of managing these ongoing LLM applications out of the equation based on our intelligence. Go ahead, next. And give this workload level granularity is also going to become critical when you look at these containerized applications and you look at what's happening now that people are going to have multiple hypervisors, probably in the same box. It's going to just get more complicated. So with that, we can go and determine if you're having issues, what's the root cause across the host, network, and storage. So we monitor the full stack. And always have a complete picture of historics. We can pull this back over time. So if you're noticing spikes, this happens all the time. Workloads will stay flat within a customer's environment, relatively like this, and then all of a sudden they start seeing one of these. You can go in and identify exactly where it's coming from. We may not be able to fix it. Like, we can't fix Cisco's switches, but we can tell you this port on this switch at this location's throwing errors. Nothing fancy on its own, but when it's aggregated into the whole stack and we can monitor from the host down, and we can add application monitoring capabilities with SQL, if you guys seen the SQL integration module. So it's another module we have for us for monitoring the application.
You have permission to monitor across different customers. That will be a bigger information base.
We have that.
And then if the customer agrees with you doing that, presumably.
They can opt in, yes. Yeah, they can opt in or opt out. If you're talking about aggregating the ETPH.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we send, but they're all anonymized, and yes, several customers do opt out, but far more opt in because of the insights they get from what the rest of the globe's doing. So, okay, next. That's a screenshot of what happens. I don't know if you've seen this before, but when you hover over here, it'll pull up and tell you if you've got storage contention, flash, disk mirroring contention, what your throttling's happening within that particular object.
This feature you always have over here. So this is something AI driven.
I'm sorry?
This VM level visibility you have now for years. Or is this something new that's AI driven now?
We've had this screen for years, but now it's monitoring objects outside of just VMs. So we're expanding this to cover any object that goes onto the VM store.
Okay.
So it's an ongoing thing as new apps evolve. But yes, it's basically it's the AI intelligence that we didn't claim in 2011. We're building into all these other file-based objects. Okay, next.
Is that the big news, though?
I'm sorry?
Is that the big news that's coming up?
Part of the big news.
Part of it. I'm still waiting for it.
Well, the big news is that we're launching this. It's the CSI, if you know CSI, our CSI that supports all these different hypervisors. Hypervisor agnostic is going into beta right now. Mm-hmm. So that product will be out this year. That's one of the big news. The other big news is the TCP piece is out and launched, which is our cloud platform. So I don't know, maybe it's not big news for you guys, but for us, and we think for the rest of the industry, it's huge.
Yeah, because to be quite honest, I don't understand half of all the abbreviations and stuff.
Okay.
I'm not really familiar with that. So I thought when I saw the other slide, where the energy goes down, I thought, yeah, this must be it, because you can run LLMs for a much lower cost on your system.
You got
and that's what everyone wants to do.
That's the big news, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Thanks for pointing
that
out.
You got it. See, that's how I'm trying to. Okay, I'm gonna not go into such weeds here, but that's exactly it. It loops back to that at the end. We're hypervisor agnostic. We're workload agnostic, and we're able to take a massive chunk of your cost out of your operations with LLM deployment. That's the biggest piece of the news.
And that's the future.
That's the future. That's where it has to go.
Every mid-sized company should be.
It has to go. It has to go.
Whatever they want to do, be it in law or you know.
Yeah, no, you got it. That's the big news. We can deliver this now. Nobody else. Stealing my thunder. I have a wrap-up slide at the end that says now we don't have to do it. But that's the big piece of the news, is that we're starting that journey now officially. So we announced it a year ago as a strategy, and now it's officially starting today. So we're super excited because yes, It's also a super complicated environment because it changes so fast. But at this point, as long as it's on a Docker standard, we don't care what you put on it. So yes, we can deliver agnosticity to anything that you can containerize. And that I think is really, really big news because that eliminates all the rest of this crap that goes with managing storage.
Talk to your marketing guy and put that into, you know.
He's there.
It might be you tomorrow. Joking. Okay, so another now you stole my whole.
I'm really sorry.
No, you know what? I like German efficiency. Let's get to the point. That's the point. You know
That's
it.
the cross-cultural.
That's the
We don't talk around. We don't eat around the bush.
yeah. Well, I thought I was being see. This is where acronyms kill people. I thought I was being pretty clear and not. So thank you. That actually helps. But that's it. That's where find my TCE slide. We can skip these things. Keep going. I'm going to find my. Wait, back up. This may be of interest.
Okay,
So-
that's not very good from a marketing. This may be of interest. Energy, this is going to be so good.
Sandra.
We start over
Yeah.
again. No, this is awesome, but except it's the same slide. But it is awesome with this, with what you just said, the capabilities that this delivers to people deploying those LLMs is integration with this API. So, see, I didn't want to go up this high. If you go above this stuff and you go above the actual serving of that data, there's going to be a whole other layer of intelligence up here with these applications themselves that will need to integrate with where's this piece of data, where's that piece of data, and that can be distributed around the world. And with this, you don't have to hire somebody to track or have multiple locations with multiple people. It will know where that data is and where it should be accessed from in real time. So it's fully integratable with any scripted LLM application.
How about that other one? There was a colourful one there when you got out. That looked quite nice.
Where?
There was all colours. There was like a pie thing. It was like a pie thing.
Which one? Forward or back?
That one there. I like that one.
Right.
Right.
That's just a marketing slick.
Yeah, well, I like marketing, but there you go.
This one just
Put some flowers in.
That's the one. Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Are we talking about moving data between systems? Trying to work out what the physical thing of this. Once you're managing your storage, but are we talking about, say, over the Christmas workload, data might suddenly move to maybe SSD storage and then move back again to that sort of thing be under your control?
Yes.
It would.
Yes. And we do that now, and we've done that since day one, which is what I was talking about with being able to move data autonomously and intelligently. If we detect hot data sets, we sometimes pin them in RAM.
Yeah.
And now it's also policy-based. This is where people also go, I don't want to, you don't have to. You can take the VM or whatever workload out of that, but we do far better than humans do at managing this. Promise you, we've had people do both.
So back into the AI bit, I would like to see, I think I'd like to see some kind of almost game playing app which takes you through what you want to achieve in instant reaction time over Christmas, those sort of business human terms, and then goes and translates this into commands to your system, and then just says to the user, based on what you told us, we've come up with these policies, and these will have these results. Will you please sort of confirm or deny or point out which ones don't work? So that's sort of.
Are you throwing me softballs?
No.
So you've never seen this before, right? No, it's a good one. We do that already.
Okay, yes.
So
this is new to me. I haven't seen it.
go forward one, Ken. I think I have a slide of it. Okay, no, this is it. To your point, so if you're a customer of Tintri and you run your workloads on us over X period of time, doesn't matter, like 2 days or 2 years, longer the better, you can open the analyzer and the predictor up and set all of those variables that, hey, my applications are going to grow 10% and I want 6% better performance, or what did it do last year and double that for next year.
Yeah.
You hit enter, it'll tell you all the compute that you need to run your model, all the networking that you need to run your model, and all the capacity. So yeah, it's all there and it's based on.
It's essential to ChatGPT. It's not what it does. It's a user interface. It does a very much more friendly user interface.
Yeah.
With that capability you already have.
Absolutely.
So if you're doing that for money, I think you can claim to be AI.
Yeah.
Forever.
We've been doing this forever. We just keep improving on it. So we'll keep adding to it as these workloads and objects evolve. But you're looking at an application as a file system object at this point now. That's the only way we can get where this is going. It has to turn to something that's manageable as itself. Makes sense?
It's dangerous to competing against hype. Other people coming along and saying this is new, and the person saying we've been doing this for years gets discounted because, of course, the marketing would say that.
We are competing against hype. You know, I'm a guy, maybe I'm foolish, but I like to think the truth and the best wins in the end, and we try not to play into the hype, and we pay for it, for sure.
It does win in the end sometimes, but sometimes good ideas get through, get sold to a record or something like that, and then it just gets sidelined.
It does, yeah. It does, but we're, you know, I know we're not going anywhere. Like our company's very strong. We're the largest privately held storage firm.
Yeah.
There's a big commitment to keeping this moving, and we've been moving. But no, we don't have a marketing machine like Pure does, or like anybody now. We don't.
Like privately owned, but of course, debt was privately owned, and we have the debt.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, we're doing great, and I don't think it's gonna. I think we'll be fine, but I don't think we jump too much into the pool. Trust me, I want to all the time. I could talk all kinds of nonsense like this. These things I know because I've seen them and I helped scope these and I've watched them work in our lab. So I know this is here. I'm fine talking about the possibilities with it. Where could it go? Anywhere. It also gets to the point that you have to admit, and I've been in some of these AI meetings, and it's like, where do you guys think this stuff's going to run? Is this going to run on salt water and sunshine? Like, there's absolutely people who have forgotten where the money goes. When you're deploying these, because these processes are forgotten or they're hidden.
Although the government, the cloud is actually solid concrete stuck in big air-conditioned silos somewhere, producing tons and tons of heat.
Yeah, absolutely.
So all those servers, all your Gen AI is done over the web on a massive great server somewhere, which you forget about.
Yeah.
Until it comes down and says, our servers are overloaded at the moment, but try again in 5 minutes. You think, I didn't realize I was processing a server over there.
Yeah, and then you get the bill for it.
Yeah.
Because I've had a number of those where people, everything's going to go in, X cloud. I'm not going to use names, but way cheaper. And until some DBA hits, sync this schema and all of its data 100 times and test it.
Yeah.
That $1,000 bill became a $100,000 bill real quick. And I could tell you how many times that's happened in the last number of years.
Another company running 7 servers, the cost of cloud computing at scale is out of all proportion what it looks like when you start off and just have a little one department, which is almost free.
Yeah.
And as you get production scale and can't back out, it gets a lot more expensive.
It gets very expensive very fast. And look, the cloud, it's got a place, right? I personally think most of the training of these things, best place for it's in a cloud that has our kind of technology, not like DDN, the big iron things. That's not going to be us ever. We're not designed to train those. Incredibly compute intensive. Doesn't make sense to even have it on-prem. And if it fails, so what? Start it again. That's that kind of a world. We're at 99999 uptime. It has to be there. And if it's not there, it better be in the next place. That's our world. The actual deployment of it. And
I just wonder how people actually test the answers. With Google, if it comes back with 6 answers, you don't really care whether there's really 12 answers, as long as the 6 answers are reasonable, you think it's done well.
Right.
If you're in a bank, processing counts, you actually want all of them, and be sure you've got all of them at once only.
Yeah.
And with a predictive AI model, you're going to have this data, suppose you just invented one of those values.
Yeah. No. Sometimes they're life or death if one thing's wrong. And no, it's not going to solve everything. Yes, it's not going to fix everything.
But I think explaining AI sort of thing, you're going to have to build AI, perhaps use AI, to make sure that it explains the solution the AI came up with, so that you can potentially go and run it manually and just confirm to yourself that these decisions made by the AI made sense.
Yep. You still have to, even if it's perfect. It's not gonna take the rap if somebody screws up. It won't go to prison if somebody moved the wrong money. So you know what I mean? Like it's still gonna.
Well, it's not the Trump anymore. Oops, I suppose.
Can I,
That's something, a whole other conversation.
to be clear, how far are you actually from launching on your website the offer to your customers that you can actually do this in the way you describe it now? What do you
Choose.
think about?
Okay, so for all the hyper. Okay, go back to the second slide. I'll walk you through where we are with it and give you real dates. So we've got
too many details. Just
Nope. I got you. Very
don't
straight.
want to mess up your presentation.
Oh, you already did.
It'll never be nice again.
That's why I love these pressing. We can just be people when stuff happens. Here today with some limitations. Obviously here today with some limitations, and I will tell you what the limitations are here today. So those are all being delivered. We're not selling the TCE yet. That goes into beta like literally, I think yesterday, our first 2 people installed it. But I'll tell you something really.
That's the one I was talking about.
That's the one you're talking about, Tintri Cloud
Yeah,
Engine.
that's
Something really
big
interesting.
news one.
Yep. So let me say something interesting, and I'll tell you some internal stuff that happened with this. So we had this idea about 4 years ago, Brock and I, and initially thought if we containerize this, even though it's a file system, performance, it may not, but because we're not Kieran Hardy or Mark Ritter, right? I don't know exactly how he architected the specifics of the file system. If he did what we think he did, we're going to see an improvement without doing anything, okay? I thought that was this much of a chance that it was going to either be flat or improve. So for the last 6 months or so, we've been hitting it, synthetic workload testing, seeing what happens. It's actually a slight improvement over just doing it on a VM because of the way the file system was architected. So we had a big push forward because if there were going to be a lot of performance issues, we weren't going to be able to go forward with it as it was done. So right now there's none. It actually gives you a slight improvement. So I think within 6 months, we'll have it on the market, barring some disaster with the beta testing. Worst case, 5.6, which I think comes out into December, we'll have there. Part of the next release of TXOS. So very, very soon.
I mean, to be honest, it's exciting news, although I might not look it. It makes me want to start a company training my own ideas to do something like that. If it's as easy as the rest of the system, why not?
Let's go. The problem is you don't see the legs moving under the water. It is a ton of work to get this done, and it's a lot of variable analysis that will drive you absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad you're doing it.
But for the press, we'll take, if people want to look at this, let me put this out there for you all. If you have customers here that want to look at this in beta and they're willing just to work with us, because a lot of these are unknowns, nobody knows. This is all rapidly developing things. So if you have anybody who's interested in beta, have them call Mark, please, because we get it out today and start kicking it and make sure that it works within a certain set of parameters. Good to go.
The biggest commercial threats to us over the last year or two, really, so one's very recent, and it's the VMware, our reliance on VMware. The vast majority of our customers are running VMware and some Hyper-V, but that's our market. And of course, a lot of big customers we talk to now say they're moving away from VMware. They're planning to, because of the Broadcom acquisition and the change in licensing charges and all that. It's really, it's naughty what appears to be naughty what Broadcom are doing.
Yeah.
This hypervisor agnosticity is great news for us. And then of course the other threat has been the perennial threat of moving from on-premises to public cloud. Now we have a public cloud version of the VM store, which, hallelujah, customers have been asking for that for years, and we now have it.
And it's something the market needs regardless of us. It's foolish the way we do things. We waste so much potential just because we do things this way instead of up-leveling across the stack. These old block systems don't make a lot of sense to me anymore unless you're doing trainings or you're doing huge HPC, which are turning into trainings. We as an industry need to advance this up a bit. and get into more intelligent ways of monitoring these platforms.
From an AI perspective, how much as a BDN subsidiary how much do you get for the mothership? How much usage and how much knowledge do you take from them?
Quite a bit.
And use in
Quite a bit. I couldn't give you a percentage. Their engineering, their coders, developers, like all of ours are this. We use the same team, so it's the same. I don't know. There's 120 something coders over there. We all share those resources, so a good bit of it transfers over. But, and what's really interesting is as an entity combined, we cover the full stack. So the training piece, they're NVIDIA's #1 partner. They're the gold standard for that piece of the stack. We're going to be the gold standard of the actual deployment piece of it. So a lot of knowledge is shared. It's just the workloads are different of what they do, right?
Yeah.
They're like not an uptime solution. We have to be 5 nines minimum. They're a restart if it fails. So it's a different philosophical go-to-market motion, but we do leverage each other's wares. All right. So one other thing I didn't talk on here that's maybe important to you are VMware customers. So anyone with VMware, we're seeing a lot of them, they're looking at VMware's Tanzu. You guys know what Tanzu?
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of them are transitioning, you laugh, I know, but a lot of them are transitioning to it. So that's kind of going to be, I think, an intermediary step to getting to Docker over the next 5-7 years. But we didn't think we'd see adoption of that earlier. About a year ago, I would have had the same reaction, but all of a sudden everybody's looking at Tanzu. So that's the one thing that's not represented here, but it's part of VMware.
It's really
you're talking about Tensor, as in Tensor NVIDIA graphic cards.
No, Tanzu, VMware Tanzu. Their container environment.
You're saying you're seeing customer adopting Tanzu, even though there is this whole situation going around.
Yeah. Yep.
Doesn't make any sense. So it's interesting.
Man, listen, I don't know, nobody here was in last year. Last year, we actually took it off our map because we thought it wouldn't work. And now everybody's looking at it.
The other thing is, with that, who are those customers? Why would you do that right now? There's so much other solutions on the market. Why would you go to Tanzu?
Yeah, and what
It's because VMware integrates. It's easier to deploy a container application that's already on VMware.
Okay, so it's because you are a VMware.
Yeah, it's always a bit. Okay. No, because to what you say, you're adding, Proxmox support. You have these XCP-ng support as well, and the thing is, everybody wants to run away from VMware, but still organizations are still trying to figure out how to do it. The strategy, some people are paying renewals for 1 to 3 years because they want to at least lock themselves into a price that is not even worse than what it could be. But the thing I'm thinking about also is what's happening in the cloud native space with containers, with KubeVirt and other things like that. So it's not a direction which is worth eventually exploring.
Still there. KubeVirt's great. We're working with KubeVirt. We're working with all of those kind of middleware pieces. All of them are still there and growing.
Which is a good advice to you, by the way. Get something that will make it really easy to jump over once Tanzu will go away again and you want to collect them. I mean,
funny you say that because that's what's going to happen. Watch. 5 years from now, they're going to do it as an intermediary because it's halfway in between. And then,
what's going to be interesting is, maybe I'm just speculating here, but organizations were planning. I mean, we all became lazy because of VMware, because it was priced conveniently enough. It was the sweet spot. You don't need to transform anything, but now you are forced to think about alternatives. And you're thinking, what I'm going to do is continue to run my VMs the way they are. Am I going to go through an extensive cycle of training my people, re-architecting everything for Proxmox or XCP-ng or whatever else? And you're not introducing any, let's say, optimization. You're just shifting over to another virtualization platform, while you could at the same time take advantage and transform to cloud native, right? So what's going to be interesting is the migration options that you so say, okay, here you are, you can transform we can migrate your environment or your cluster into a Proxmox native environment where you can have cloud native workloads, and at the same time, you can continue migrating your VMs.
Yeah, but it's what we talked about as well, right? It's like a lot of the VMware customers will probably set one cycle of 3 or maybe even 5 years out, and after that they want out.
Yeah.
So they still have there's a time that they need to cover, and helping them move over from VMware to everything else will probably be a good idea.
And taking an opposing view of this, or taking VMware side for a second, I think all of us forget sometimes that they were independent and they were owned by EMC. They were Dell. There were a lot of people, a lot of customers who got a lot of freebies and a lot of hookups for other deals, and this kind of stuff. They're going to have to correct that, but VMware is ubiquitous, and there's so many customers that even though we can do this, we've done it for a couple, they have integrated VMware into their critical business operations, like VRA, VRO, it's not that uneasy to unhook it.
So I absolutely agree, it's not going to go away, but it's going to become yet another layer of legacy in the organization, just like you may have mainframes, like you may have critical IBM Z systems or whatever, but people are going to be perhaps a bit more conscious about what's going to run on VMware versus alternatives.
Yeah, cost sensitive to it, you're right. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be really fascinating to see, because also VMware, let's be real, they've got a 15, 20 year, how many millions of man hours coding lead on a lot of people. It's not easy to catch up to that, to their capabilities. And we'll have to see how it shakes out. But either way, we support all of them.
Yeah, and that's the intent here is not to bash VMware because they got pushed back, but there are other. It's going to be different routes from the organizations. If you have you invest in a lot of, not just about VMware, it's about visualized automation and all of this stuff, right? So the more heavily you're invested into that, the more complicated it gets to run out. But having the option is going to be.
I think you nailed it too. It's like mainframe. It's not going anywhere. Thanks everybody. That was a good talk. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.